It's time to go beyond the headlines, cause I don't put in overtime just so I can headline. Okay, now it's Fox Sports, I'm live with Renee. Going hard every day, sports rapping every play. Different segments for your favorites, coming at you daily with positive vibes, yeah, we some game changers. Basketball, football, soccer, with different interviews, you never know who may pop up. Listen, only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington. Joining us this week from Virginia, we've got Monet Anderson, a.k.a. the Lady Broadcaster, covering youth and high school sports. And Monet, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to finally have you here.
Thank you, Miss Renee. It's a pleasure to be invited by a fellow female sportscaster, so I am honored.
Yes. Now, I have to first ask, how has the coronavirus changed your work schedule? Because I know for me, it's flipped mine upside down.
Oh, totally. I was scheduled to attend quite a few 7-on-7 tournaments. This is big time 7-on-7 season. So it has hit it like a wrecking ball. Starting with last weekend, I said, boy, I was, supposed to be in Virginia Beach and then going up to Philly, this coming week. My schedule was jam packed. I was actually loving a couple of weeks ago because I said, you know what, I'm going to get some downtime because my schedule is about to get crazy pretty much through the summer. So, I took that weekend and I said, yeah, let me get some rest. But now I'm getting all the rest that I'll need.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah, it's just turned everything upside down. And I feel so bad for the athletes because it's just it's halted the world. So it's a different time for us. I feel like we're in a movie, Renee. I really do.
That's literally how I feel. It's like everything doesn't seem real, and with each day, it seems more and more like we're okay. Things are just going to go back to normal, or like we are literally in a scene from a movie.
Absolutely.
When you look at, people walking around with face masks on, and the fact that we don't have sports on, and the fact that a lot of us aren't working or working from home.
Exactly.
It literally is like a movie. And even I was listening to up in New Jersey, our governor was announcing, we are quarantined. We're not supposed to be going anywhere, or only going out for the essentials and everything. And just listening to I was listening to it on the radio. I was like, oh my gosh, am I watching a horror movie right now?
I know.
Real.
It doesn't seem real. And, I'm in Virginia, and yesterday they closed schools for the entire year.
Yes.
So that is, I kind of stopped and said, what did he say? Like, my daughter is 11. She's a sixth grader. I'm like, she just did half a year of sixth grade, and that's it. It's over. Never heard of that before in life.
That's the thing. This is all uncharted territory.
It is. And then, for the high school seniors, the athletes, it's horrible for them. I'm thinking to myself, I'm going, okay, this is March. They have to come up with a plan to have these kids graduate in June. They cannot not walk across a stage, that they've been waiting for this forever. They have to be able to walk across a stage in Virginia. So everything, and like you said, Renee, you feel like, okay, every day it's something new. You almost feel like, okay, the next day they're going to say, okay, we're going to go back to this and we're going to open this business. But no, it gets worse every day.
Yep. And I know, like, personally, when you see stores, hair salons, barbershops, like everything shutting down, you see also the fact that you talk about with students. I think about all the seniors, whether in high school or college or eighth grade, that are in your last year at your school, that you're not getting that moment to have senior week and senior day for athletes and graduation. It's awful to think about. And even the setback that you talk about with your daughter and all kids, what is this going to do for our youth? That education gap that they're literally, fortunately for some, they have parents that can teach them and stuff, but there are a lot of kids that don't have parents that can help teach them. So you're missing months of education and months of even sports. Yeah. You think about the athletes, some are, okay, yes, they're working out, but it's not the same routine
it's not.
as having games and everything and working with your team and training. rigorously every week. So it's going to really be interesting to see, not to mention the fact a lot of us are just sitting at home eating, sleeping,
that's right.
doing
that's right. That's right. The productive part. And that's what you think about, Renee. It's like, okay, we cannot just sit and do nothing. We have to be productive. So it's like the routine, the schedule you have to come up with a whole new plan, because it's like, I still have to exercise. I still have to get myself together. I still have to exist, but I just have to exist in a different way. And some people don't do well with change, and this was quick change. This was you don't even have a minute to blink kind of change. So get with the program. And now, like you said, there are parents that, and unfortunately for some kids, parents don't even help with homework, and I don't like saying it, but it happens, and it's reality, and it's our life. Now you have those kids at home, and I feel so bad for those. And Renee, I've actually, as of yesterday, when I heard Virginia schools were closed down, I said, I'm going to get on every morning and just put up some type of assignment for kids. I
love it. 3rd
through 8th grade. I don't, if the parents look at it, or if they don't, at least if one parent looks at it, I'm happy. I'll never know, unless someone says something to me. But I'm just trying to put up my strong piece was language arts in school. So I'm doing everything language arts related. And I said to everybody, now math is not my thing, so I'm not going to even touch that territory. I'll let someone else do their good deed and come on and do that. But I'm just trying to keep the kids active. And I hope, it helps someone.
Yeah. It is. This is our new normal, and it is very crazy and surreal and unreal, I should say, to see how all this is happening. But we've been joking in my family about the Corona 15, like the freshman 15, like everyone is going to be free. But on the flip side, as you mentioned, it is literally forcing us to take a step back, regroup, relax, come out refreshed. Also to take time to maybe work on those projects that you haven't had a chance to do, or write that book, or do that podcast, or that YouTube channel, whatever it may be, to kind of get other things going aside from our normal school for students and work for adults. So it's quite a shift. But I'm curious, because you work in youth sports, which I've worked in youth sports, and it's so different. You look at the way that parents, coaches, grandparents, relatives, the athletes, they really appreciate everything that you do. And for you working with 7-on-7 football, talk to us about why 7-on-7 football. What about that keeps you coming back to keep highlighting, featuring, shedding a spotlight on these superb athletes as they deserve it, and as they're working hard and in their craft.
Yeah, well, one thing for me, I have really zoned in on the under the radar athletes, those athletes that just don't get the looks. They're putting up the numbers, but they're not getting the looks. And it's either because they're at a school that's not winning, they're in a low income development where scouts and recruiters, they just aren't looking because they don't feel like the kids are even going to have the grades or even make the SAT scores that they need to get into school. So they're just being overlooked. So this 7-on-7 gives those kids opportunity as well to get out, be seen, because college coaches and scouts, they're looking at 7-on-7. It's been proven. It's been written in articles. They're holding 7-on-7 tournaments directly at colleges. So they're getting the looks now. So for me, I get to go there, give these guys some camera time, even interviewing them, letting people know who they are, put your name out there, where you go to school. Give me your stats for the season and give me at least 3 to 5 schools that you would like to reach out to. And by giving those kids the opportunity to interview and put it out on Twitter, people are looking. They're really looking. And last year we had some kids get looks that hadn't had anything going on. Simply, Renee, from me going to their tournament, putting their action, everything that they did, highlighting it in a short film, and then interviewing them and putting it on Twitter, they got the looks. And they may have wanted that big D1, that Ohio State, that Alabama. They may have wanted those. But even though those schools didn't come after them, you got your lower levels that came after them and, offered them, hey, come on, get on here, get on this squad, do what you need to do, because football could end any day. So we want to make sure you get the education first. But before 7-on-7, they had nothing. They had no schools looking at them. So just giving them the little opportunity to shine. And I'll have to say, Twitter has been awesome for athletes. I mean, it's a total new thing for athletes. You know, you talk to guys that came up 30 years ago and they're like, man, if I had Twitter 30 years ago, I'd be in the NFL, but I didn't have it. So I didn't get the exposure. No one knew about me. So I didn't even get to go to school. You know, you hear those kind of stories from those guys that say, man, I just wish I had what these kids have today. And they have it today. So let's put it to use. And I think 7-on-7 is a great way for these under the radar athletes to get out, be seen, get the exposure, and get to school.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And you see it at the higher levels. There are becoming more and more ways, especially in football, for athletes to be seen, to be able to play at a high level, whether it's the XFL that, you know, had their season start. Unfortunately, of course, it was also shut down. But the XFL, I covered the AFL. You know, there are other outlets besides the NFL. There are other outlets besides the mainstream recruiting outlets. You know, there are becoming more and more ways in football to be able to play at a high level, compete, train, be seen, be recognized for your talents. And that's something that, honestly, I feel like in other sports you have that. Like I think about soccer, basketball, other sports you have that. Football was kind of lacking that in a way. It was like, oh my goodness, what now do you do aside from fall football? You know, even school football.
That's right. Absolutely. And like you said, football, it's such a tight circle. And it's almost, Renee, it's almost like who you know. Once you get out of high school to that college level, getting to that NFL, you know, you see a lot of kids of former players or relatives of former players. And it's like, is it about talent or is it about who you know and what you know? You know, so you kind of say, you know, you kind of say it's a tough circle to penetrate. So like you said, the XFL, man, I looked at the DC team and they had Ohio State's former quarterback that played before Dwayne Haskins. He's, you know, leading that DC team. And we hadn't heard from him, Cardale Jones. We hadn't heard from him since he left Ohio State. Now this man is getting another opportunity. Is he trying to make it to the NFL? Who knows? But at least he's in the XFL. And it's getting just as much exposure. People are loving the XFL.
Yes.
So too bad they were shut down. So
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you look at basketball. If you don't make it to the NBA, you can play in the G League. You can play overseas. You got the G League. You know, there are plenty of overseas outlets that's still a high level. There are options. And that's the biggest thing, regardless if your goal is to get to the NFL or not, which of course everyone strives to play at the highest level. You at least have options to continue to play, you know, and that's what you're getting to see even at the youth level.
That's right. Absolutely. And, you know, starting at the youth level, and it's getting even for a 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old, it's getting so competitive, Renee. And I'm sure you see these kids going out to these national tournaments and they're almost becoming superstars at 9 and 10 years old now. You know, I just go into some of the groups and pages, and these kids are known all over the country. Take little Bunchy, for instance. You know, the kid has blown up. He was in the Super Bowl commercial. I mean, and
that was an awesome commercial, by the way.
Awesome commercial. And he's still young. So it's starting so early for these kids. And I'll tell you, the pressure. The pressure is crazy. And I think the pressure gets to the parents more than it does for the kids, because sometimes the parents are out of control. So at the youth level, they can be, you know, kind of living through their kids. So you have to reel the parents in sometimes and say, hey, you know, the kid's 9 years old. Take it easy. You know, they're out here training like crazy, lifting weights, in my eyes, way too early. You know, a 7, 8-year-old lifting weights.
Yeah.
That's kind of a lot. That's kind of a lot. I mean, giving a good workout, I think, is good enough. Let their bodies develop. I think you can kind of stunt that growth, because you look at gymnasts and they have such a rigid workout regimen that their growth is actually stunted. And you see it in the women and the men. Most of them don't grow past a certain height because of that rigorous workout routine. I've read many articles on it. It stunts the growth when they work out too much like that. But for gymnasts, they have to have those small muscular bodies to be successful. So I just think sometimes in youth sports, it just gets crazy. It gets over the top because these parents want to make these NFL stars out of their 10-year-olds, but we love the game.
Yes. Well, then I have to ask, how much of a double-edged sword do you think social media plays in that, because of the fact that you do have more opportunities for exposure? So like the content you're creating, that is on social media. Kids can now go and pull that video and show it to, a recruiter or even a relative or a friend or classmate, whoever. But also on the other hand, now you have parents constantly being reminded, okay, little Johnny's over here doing this. Why isn't my son doing that? And it's like, it's bittersweet because it helps, but how much of it do you think also is hurting parents, because now they are even feeling more pressure to have their kid be the next NFL player and then, be similar to what they're seeing at the NFL level. So now they're having their kids doing the workouts they're seeing, OBJ doing or whoever doing on their social media pages at a younger age.
Yep. And you hit the nail on the head. It's that bittersweet. And I think it hits home for the parents and the athlete as well, because they sit on social media and they see these kids out here working out and they see the offers, oh, I got my next offer. I mean, you and I see it every day. Blessed to have my next offer from Ohio State. Blessed to have my next offer from Alabama, Michigan, wherever. The kids that aren't getting that, they look and they see that, and it hurts them. It hurts their soul inside, because why am I not getting the same thing? But again, it goes back to the school you're attending, the area you're in. These college scouts, a lot of them are old school. They go by these eye tests. If you're too short, if you're too tall, if you're too fat, if you're too small, they go by this. And I've been so against that, because it's Xing out athletes who have the potential, who have the ability, but you're looking at them and saying, no, he's not a quarterback. Why? Because he's not 6'1", 6'2". Look at the kid's arm. He has a cannon. Look at his stats from last year. But it's an old school way that the recruitment is still living by. And I hope that soon we'll start to get out of that old school and start looking at these kids for their talent, and not just going by a list of A, B, C, D, E. Do they have this? Do they have that? Nope, that's not what they have. So, they're out of it. I just hope things change for them. But going back to that double-edged sword on social media, even the stars, the 3-star, the 4-star, the 5-star, these kids are sitting there and they're seeing these recruiting services, 247 and Max Preps. They're all ranking these athletes. And my thing with that is, you're ranking athletes, but there are not even enough recruiters in these services to go out and rank every athlete. So it's really unfair in my eyes that they do this, and they make it tough on kids that aren't ranked. So again, like you said, it's that bittersweet social media thing. Yeah, I think kids can get on there and they can be motivated by what they see, but they can also be unmotivated and kind of have a soul hurt because they aren't getting the same thing others are getting. And it's by no fault of their own.
Yeah, no, I agree. I see that. I still coach youth soccer, and that's something that I see in soccer, and it's across all sports, is that kids are constant, and it's beyond sports, actually. It's just society in general. We do that in society. We compare. I know even as an adult, you compare, my former classmate's getting married. Why am I not getting married? They just got in the house. Why am I not getting married? Like you're constantly comparing where everybody's at in their life. And it definitely is the epitome of the issues that we're seeing at the youth level, from the coaching side, the parent side, the player side, just all that pressure kind of mounting. And honestly, keeping kids, along with injuries, keeping kids from possibly reaching their full potential. And it's very, very sad to see. So I'm thankful that you're there, covering these athletes that aren't getting the recognition that they deserve, because that is so important to help at the youth level. You're working at the grassroots level to give these kids an opportunity. So where can our listeners follow you on social media, Lady Broadcaster, to keep up with all of your sports coverage?
Oh, well, you just said it. They can get me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'm on Snap. I'm not the best at it, but I am over there. And they can always put @Lady Broadcaster, and I should pop right up.
There you go. So thank you so much,
ma'am.
Monet, for joining the show. It's been a pleasure. I love your content and what you're doing, and I'm excited to continue to see how that grows and building up these athletes that deserve all the recognition. So thank you for joining the show.
Well, I appreciate you, Renee, and I am going to double back this favor on you, and the next time I will be interviewing you.
There we go. I love it. I'm ready whenever you are. I love it.
Okay, I am taking you up on that, ma'am.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Renee.